This incredible, shameless Tamil Nadu minister. You know, I want everyone to know his name today because we're going to go ahead and call him a person who has flaunted his arrogance while holding the portfolio of higher education in a wonderful, progressive, educated state like Tamil Nadu. And I'm just wondering what the parents of children who are going to high school, college, etc. must be thinking of a man who's in charge of higher education in Tamil Nadu. A man who can say, you speak Hindi, you become a Pani Puri seller. That's what Stalin's minister said in Tamil Nadu. I'll get into that, but first the headlines. Anger boils over in Jammu and Kashmir after a Kashmiri Pandit was shot dead inside a government office in Budgam. Protesters hit the streets, forces fire tear gas. Congress heavyweights in Udaipur for a 3-day Chintan Shivir to brainstorm amidst extinction turmoil. Sonia Gandhi accuses BJP of spreading fire of hate across the nation. Full meltdown in Karnataka Congress ahead of the polls. Divya Spandana accuses State Congress Chief D.K. Shivakumar of defaming her. MLA M.B. Patil backs Divya. Bulldozer politics speaks in Delhi. Aam Aadmi Party's open dare to Delhi BJP chief threatens to bulldoze alleged encroachment at Adesh Gupta's house. Billionaire Elon Musk halts $44 billion Twitter deal in surprise announcement. Deal put on hold pending calculation of the number of fake accounts that actually exist on Twitter. It's a high-profile language war, ladies and gentlemen, that has been rumbling for the last few weeks. And each and every one of these stories was broken first, of course, here on India Today. It started with Kicha Sudeep, who said India's national language is not Hindi, it's just one of the national languages. Then you had Mahesh Babu of the Telugu superstardom, who said Bollywood cannot afford me. But these are two, cinema stars who took their pot shots at the Hindi language. But the real pot shot has come from Tamil Nadu minister, a man from Team Stalin whose name is Ponmudi, who happens to be the higher education minister. That's the guy over there. That's him, Ponmudi. He's a higher education minister of Tamil Nadu who has basically launched into the language war. Whether he knows the context or not, we don't know. But basically mocking the Hindi language, Tamil Nadu Education Minister Ponmudi said that those who speak Hindi end up selling Pani Puri. Ponmudi went on to say that why learn Hindi when English is being taught? The comment comes just weeks after, like I just said, Bollywood and the South have been locking horns over the language debate.
கிடைக்குதா ஹிந்தி நம்ம ஊர்ல கோயம்புத்தூர்ல போய் பாருங்க பான்பூரி வச்சுக்கிறோம் எந்த கடை யாரு எல்லாம் அவன்தான் ஆக அது ஒரு காலம் இப்ப ஆங்கிலம் இன்டர்நேஷனல் லாங்குவேஜ் இந்தியா தமிழ்நாடு we should have our own system because India is a nation as the governor already knows unitary in diversity various cultures are there various languages are there in Tamil Nadu itself we should follow our own educational system. We also borrow the new certain good policies from the new education policy and we are ready to follow it.
उन्होंने जो भी बात कही है ये उनका अपना एजुकेशन मिनिस्टर कैसा होना चाहिए ये भी उन्होंने दर्शा दिया लोगों ने समझ लिया लेकिन मुझे लगता है हिंदुस्तान में हिंदी हमारी एक मातृभाषा है और हिंदी में ही जो हिंदुस्तान के संस्कार हैं वो ये नहीं कहते हैं कि अगर कोई पानी पूरी खिलाकर आपको मोहब्बत से जीतना चाहता है तो आप उसका मजाक उड़ाइए शायद ये अंग्रेजी भाषा का कमाल है क्योंकि जो लोग अंग्रेजी भाषा को बहुत ज्यादा कहते हैं उसको फरोग देते हैं या उसको प्रमोट करने की बात करते हैं वो कॉमर्शियल लैंग्वेज है इंटरनेशनल लैंग्वेज है उसको हमें कॉमर्शियली इस्तेमाल करना है लेकिन अगर संस्कार आपको लेना है तो वो आपको मातृभाषा से हिंदी से ही मिलेंगे। और हिंदी हमेशा जोड़ने का काम करती है। वसुधैव कुटुंबकम हमारा ही सनातनी नारा है कि हम पूरे विश्व को अपना परिवार समझते हैं।
Now the DMK has made Hindi imposition a political issue for many years. It's part of Dravidian politics and that has its own place in South politics and very much part of the brand that the DMK has embraced for many years. But now it has become very personal and it has become tasteless. Let's look at the last few occasions on which the DMK has attacked Hindi. In May 2022, the DMK slammed JIPMER's decision to use Hindi in its syllabus. Then in April 2022, just last month, the DMK exhorted people to fight Hindi imposition. Like I said, this is very much part of DMK politics and it has its place in South politics. In April, once again, DMK said non-Hindi speaking states want English. Well, DMK chief hit out at the center on Hindi Divas in September 2020. In September 2019, DMK cadres blackened Hindi words at a Tamil Nadu railway station. So this was also, a show of contempt for the Hindi language. In May 2019, the then DMK chief said India is not Hindi-speaking states alone. Totally right. He was right in that, but it's, very much part of the DMK making it an us versus them, Hindi versus Tamil kind of regional identity politics. That is the part of how the DMK actually does things. Let's show you the questions that we're asking right now. You may or may not agree with some of the questions we're asking, but listen to what I have to say and you may agree with at least some of them. Will this education minister clarify or apologize? Imagine the state where you're living in, viewer, where an education minister says anyone who speaks Hindi becomes a Pani Puri seller. Would that be acceptable to you? Think about it for a second. Just think about the sense of arrogance, vulgarity, and condescension and entitlement in that one statement. And this man is not some random politician. He is the Tamil Nadu Higher Education Minister. Question number 2. Is the Congress, Congress is totally deafeningly silent in all that. They are allies of the DMK. The Congress is a big party in the north. The Congress is totally silent. Is the Congress okay with its ally, the DMK, insulting Hindi and insulting migrants? Because when this minister talked about Pani Puri sellers, he means Pani Puri sellers in Tamil Nadu who are all migrants. Is this Tamil Nadu minister, Ponmudi, parroting the DMK's age-old party line about Hindi? Of course, he's made it much more ugly this time and flaunted his disgusting sense of privilege. But that's a different matter. The fact is that contempt for Hindi is very much part of DMK politics. Number 5, should such ministers be allowed to hold portfolios? Real question. Should he be allowed to hold portfolios when he has such views and expresses them in public? Do Tamil Nadu citizens want this minister shaping education policy when he can say such unbelievably tasteless things, especially in public, with no fear, in front of students, at a valedictory function, he's saying these things? Just imagine the kinds of things he must be doing to Tamil Nadu's policy is the question that we are asking right now. So let me play out for you once again. Before we go to our guests, our political guests, let's play out for you once again what this minister said. Play out for you once again what this minister said.
இந்தி பிடிச்சா வேலை கிடைக்குதா? இந்தி நம்ம ஊரில் கோயம்புத்தூர்ல போய் பாருங்க, பான்பூரி வச்சுக்கிறோம், எந்த கடை யாரு எல்லாம் வந்தான். ஆக அது ஒரு காலம். இப்ப ஆங்கிலம் இன்டர்நேஷனல் லாங்குவேஜ். India in Tamil Nadu, we should have our own system because India is a nation, as the governor already knows, unitary in diversity, various cultures are there, various languages are there. In Tamil Nadu itself, we should follow our own educational system. We also borrow the new certain good policies from the new education policy and we are ready to follow it.
Okay, A. Saravanan of the DMK is live with us here. We'll be joined by the BJP also in a moment. We invited the Congress party also to be part of this because the Congress is an ally of the DMK. They have declined to be part of this, which is an incredibly cowardly act because obviously they don't want to be in an awkward situation and take questions on the ally saying something so tasteless and so condescending. But Mr. Saravanan, good to see you. Welcome. How can a higher education minister, sir, how can he say that Hindi speakers, you've become a pani puri seller? I mean, is there any defense of such language? You've shown contempt towards pani puri sellers who are migrants. You've shown contempt towards Hindi. That is DMK politics. I don't have a problem with that. We all have, all political parties have their own politics. But this kind of flagrant condescension, arrogance, entitlement, privilege, why are you defending it, sir?
Yeah, Shiv Aroor, I want to make 2 points here. First, let us go back to what you stated in the beginning of the show. You were talking about condescension. You were talking about how this is an insult, how they are arrogant. You should turn these questions and ask the BJP's people who are promoting Hindi to the detriment of the other language.
Don't turn this around and say question the BJP.
Will you allow me to speak?
When the BJP says things...
Are you going to be another bully anchor?
When
are you
the
going to be another bully on television?
No, don't bring this offensive thing here. We don't bully our guests. I am saying, don't question India today about questioning BJP. We question BJP 24 hours a day. We are not Times Now. We are not any other channel that refuses to to question the BJP.
If you're not going to allow me to speak, people are going to think you're a bully and you're not allowing.
Don't do what about it. Saravanan, calm down. First of all, calm down. Saravanan, calm down. Why are you getting defensive? You're getting defensive. I'm saying calm down. Calm down. But don't, no whataboutery on my channel.
Because I know what I'm going to talk. I'm absolutely calm. So will you allow me to speak?
No whataboutery on my channel. Don't divert, but answer the question.
Uninterruptedly?
Yeah.
Yes. So your outrage should be against people who are spending $800,000 for promoting Hindi in UN, as though only people who know Hindi is outside India. You should be condescending against people who have spent 600 crores for promoting Sanskrit.
Have you seen our channel about it? Have you seen our story on that?
Not allocated money for promotion of classical languages like
Have
Tamil.
you seen our story on that, Saravanan? Have you seen our story on that?
Right now I'm making it. Right now I'm making those allegations.
Have you seen my story on that?
The other thing, I'll come to what you know Tamil better.
No, your point is already dead. Have you seen our story on that? Your point is invalid, sir. Come on. I'm being very polite to you. I'm saying we have done stories on all this. We have questioned the BJP on this.
This is not going to be your narrative. Let me speak. You have made some allegations against our higher education.
Your minister is a shameless man who has insulted Pani Puri sellers and speakers of Hindi. How dare he speak like this? What are you talking about? And you want to insult our channel as well.
Are the shame to the entire country. Let me answer.
So you're defending. You're basically calling Pani Puri, Pani Puri sellers as non-humans. They don't deserve the government support. They don't deserve the government's compassion.
If it is going to be a monologue, there's no point in inviting me. Allow me to speak.
But talk sense, Saravanan. Don't attack my channel without reason. I won't take that nonsense.
Yes, I will. See, the minister has said, please read Hindi, you will get a job. No, that is not the situation. Please go, look at who is selling Pani Puris. If you read Hindi, if you read only Hindi, where will you get the job opportunities? Can a doctor just read Hindi and become a doctor?
Is that true?
That is true. That is true. Can an engineer become just only read Hindi and become an engineer?
Why insult? Why show arrogance? The question here is arrogance, sir.
Why are you derogating a profession?
The question here is arrogance. The question here is arrogance.
We call them bias.
The question here is arrogance, Saravanan. You know this. The question here is arrogance. Hindi politics, English politics is well known. That is a separate issue altogether. The question here is condescension and arrogance. That is the question here. It is not about Hindi and engineering and English and stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone should be encouraged to learn English. I believe that very strongly.
The migration data clearly shows that people from North India, especially the Hindi-speaking belt, are all coming to the south of India, especially Karnataka and Tamil Nadu.
I agree with that. We are on the same page on that.
Allow me to speak there. Allow me to speak. Why are you jumping to that?
You're getting defensive because you want to divert from Pani Puri.
Allow me to speak.
I will not allow you to do that.
Don't allow me me to speak? What's the point? Why do you invite me to a debate if you don't allow me to speak?
Saravanan,
You keep interrupting.
Saravanan, we are friends. This is not the way to debate.
Yes,
I'm
that's
asking
what
you
I'm
a question
saying.
about the
Allow
Pani
me to
Puri
speak. Listen to
topic.
me.
Will he
Yeah,
apologize
see,
for
you
that?
read me.
Will he apologize
I'm saying,
for that?
Look at this tape. Have you allowed me to speak for a minute without interruption?
Talk.
Is this
But
the way
no, what about
a civil debate is going to happen? Allow me to speak. See, when people from north of India are coming here, they know only Hindi. The union government should teach them the local language. If they're going to Karnataka, they should make them ensure that they know Kannada. When they come to Tamil Nadu, probably they should teach them Tamil so that they'll have better opportunities. Similarly, if someone is going from here to any other place, they will learn that language. We are saying, don't
all
import that
lovely
language.
points.
See,
Lovely points.
No, 1 minute is not gone yet. See, we have a Prime Minister and a Home Minister who have extolled the virtues of selling pakodas. Are you suggesting that selling pani puri is a demeaning job?
You've seen our story on that?
That is what
You've seen our story on that?
making it like that. You
No,
are
I'm
making
saying,
it like that. It is
have
not
you
a-
seen our
a
story
higher
on that?
standard.
Come on.
That
You are mistaking us for some other channel which,
No,
you
no,
know,
I'm not mistaking. I'm not
which
mistaking.
plays
I'm just
one-sided
pointing out.
politics in favor of the BJP. We don't do that here on India Today. You're mistaking us for the other channels
that is
which
left to
shamelessly
everybody's,
support one party or the other.
job.
I
That
am
is left to
saying,
everybody's job.
if Mr. Saravanan, with great respect, I wish you were the higher education minister of Tamil Nadu, because the points you have just made are substantive, based on data, based on actual experience, based on migration information. These are all substantive issues. My simple, pure, small, humble submission, sir, is why show derision towards any person or any profession, Pani Puri walas or otherwise. It is insulting. There is no place for such language in 2022 India at a time when these divisions mean something, sir. He should apologize for it. He's the education minister.
No, see, he has merely stated a fact, Shiv. People who sell pani puris in the state of Tamil Nadu, they only speak Hindi. Because Tamil pani puri is not sold by people who speak Tamil, because pani puri is not we enjoy pani puris. We call them bayas. See, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
He said it in a mocking tone, sir. I mean, come on.
It is not a mocking tone.
He
Probably
said
the
it
mockery,
anyway.
that's what. I'll come to it. You are talking about a mocking tone. The mocking tone may be directed against the governor. Because the governor had the audacity and the temerity to suggest in a similar meeting that everybody should learn a third language. Learn Hindi probably, he meant by that.
That is a completely separate issue.
Follow national education policy, which is against the stated position of the Tamil Nadu
endlessly dilute this. We can endlessly dilute this issue and bring it into engineers and pakoras and all those things. And I invite you to go on to India Today's YouTube page or website, and you will find our questioning the BJP on all of these topics. But Narayanan Tirupati, I want to bring you in on this right now, because the BJP has gone fire and brimstone over this, because this is happening in the backdrop of a larger language war between the south and the north. Pani Puri sellers, hapless Pani Puri sellers, have found themselves, you know, at the receiving end of the Tamil Nadu higher education minister's, example. He was wanting to make a more substantive point, but he has targeted Pani Puri sellers. What would you like to say on that?
It's better to sell pani puris than to sell liquor, by which these parties, particularly the DMK, in the last 40 years, they have destroyed so many Tamilians families, so many crores of Tamil families. So, mocking at pani puri sellers is definitely a cultureless, useless, definitely a senseless word that has been used by the higher education minister. He has lowered his stature. That is what he has done. I think this minister should apologize, or the minister, the chief minister, Mr. Stalin, should definitely make him apologize or throw him out of the cabinet. The senior Rajya Sabha MP, Mr. T.K. Silangovan, had accepted in another channel. He said that yes, this was wrong, and I will talk to the minister to amend itself. Definitely, that is what he has said. I am really surprised the way Mr. Saravanan talks here. Mr. T.K. Silangovan, a senior leader of DMK, he is having one stand, but Saravanan is having one stand. That is what they are doing. See, these people are trying to divide India. Their agenda is that. That is what they are doing.
Okay.
This is what we have been saying right from the beginning.
Let's keep all the divisions and those allegations out of it, because these are two political parties we're dealing with. But Mr. Saravanan, genuinely asking, if I don't know what Mr. Ilangovan has said on another channel, we can't verify or quote that. But my question is, given that a substantive point was being made by the Tamil Nadu Education Minister, isn't the perception important, sir, that, a tasteless comment should not be made, even if granted, assuming that it is factually correct? The fact is that it is tasteless. It insults certain people, it shows some people in bad light, it talks down to certain people, and does not go with the stature of a higher education minister. Surely that matters to you and the DMK, sir. And I'm asking that with a great deal of respect, because politics is about perception.
Yes, Shiv. I think the entire his speech is taken out of context, and I think just it is a huge, big hue and cry is made out of nothing. He has merely stated the fact.
Then why doesn't he just clarify?
Just a moment. This outrage that he should apologize, this apology, the highest office bearers of our country have said, gone on record and said Hindi is a national language. The Mr. Amit Shah says English should go and Hindi should come. This is against the integrity of our country, not this statement. Will Narayan Tirupati have the courage to question Mr. Amit Shah? This is against our federal polity.
Since this is
all
part
the
of the
statements made by the BJP leaders,
the
they
reason
keep saying again and again that Hindi is a national language.
No, but
Why do they keep saying that?
The thing,
Can we ask them to apologize? See, India is prospering only because English is here.
Yeah,
that is because Tamil Nadu was at
I am the first person, sir. I would like to tell everyone here, I am the first person who always suggests to people, please learn English. Please learn English if you want a good future. There's no question about that. The substance of what is being recommended, I don't think that's a separate debate. That's a separate debate. I am saying
he has extolled the virtues of learning English.
There is nothing wrong. The intention of what he said is not wrong at all. I believe that the intention of what he wanted to say is not wrong. But given that there is a language war that has been happening for many, many years now, it's not something new. There is a certain degree of contempt for the Hindi language in South politics. I am not pointing only at the DMK, but we know that's a fact. I'm not making that up. Narayan Tirupati, would you like to respond to that? Because, see, this is the language war anyway is an emotive issue, but this particular comment from this minister has made it has hurt a lot of people. It has genuinely hurt. This video has gone viral. Saravanan may be partially right when he says, there is over-the-top outrage. But my sense is this kind of arrogance does not suit a minister. It certainly does not suit a minister.
Shiv, I said, but if I will be the first person to oppose if Hindi or some other language is imposed on Tamil Nadu. We have been saying this, and Mr. Amit Shah never said that Hindi is our national language. I think Saravanan has to correct it.
I did not say that. I did not say that.
No,
I did not say that.
Let me finish it.
Don't misquote me. I did not say that.
You have some decency, have some manners. Don't interrupt. Okay, have some manners. So,
if you quote me wrong, I will interrupt.
BJP has never said that Hindi is our national language. Whereas the Congress, the ally of DMK, have been imposing Hindi all along, right from 1947. The purpose of bringing in three-language formula to India is that the Hindi-speaking states, people should learn South Indian languages and the South Indian people should learn Hindi. But from 1947, it has not happened. This is what Mr. Annadurai, the DMK founder, also has said. We need to understand all these things. So it is a very big topic. But as you rightly said, Shiv, the minister who is supposed to have some decency, he lost his cool, and in a mannerless way, he has spoken very, very bad about it. He has insulted not only the language, the people who are poor, people who are selling, this pani puri. What is wrong in selling a pani puri? You are shamelessly selling liquor.
What is wrong?
You are shamelessly selling liquor, which we are saying that don't do it. You people are selling liquor. Crores and crores of families are hurt. They are affected, and you don't have any shame on that, and you are insulting these pani puri sellers. This is wrong. I think the minister should apologize.
We don't know how, whether pani puri sellers have had the time to even consume this piece of news, but it's horrible. It's no way to speak. It's condescending and it's arrogant. And I'm sure even Mr. Saravanan deep down knows that a substantive point could have been conveyed in a way that doesn't insult anyone, that doesn't show condescension and arrogance. It doesn't suit a party like the DMK and certainly not the higher education minister. Whether that apology comes or not, it remains to be seen. I don't think it will, because that's the nature of our politics. Whether it is DMK, BJP, Congress, insulting things are said. There is a lot of outrage, but those apologies never seem to actually come. So we leave it there for the moment. Thank you, Saravanan. Thank you, Mr. Tirupati, for joining us on this quick discussion. Good to have you both on the show after a long time. But like both of our guests just told us, the language war has been simmering because hours after superstar Mahesh Babu detonated another language war between South cinema and Bollywood, another southern star, Siddharth, waded into this face-off yesterday. This is one filmy face-off that hasn't simmered down anytime soon, and now you have a Tamil Nadu minister who has jumped into it. Take a look at the context.
It is Bollywood versus Southern cinema once again. This time, Telugu superstar Mahesh Babu has sparked fresh controversy with his comment against Bollywood. Bollywood cannot afford me, a remark that reignited the language debate. Speaking about whether he has plans to enter Bollywood, South superstar Mahesh Babu said that he gets a lot of offers in Hindi, but Bollywood cannot afford him, so he wouldn't waste time in doing a Hindi movie. The Telugu star claimed that the stardom and respect in South is huge, and he never thought about moving to another industry.
But I did get a lot of offers in Hindi. But my simple thing is, I don't think they can afford me.
The Tollywood heartthrob later clarified that he loves cinema and respects all languages, and that his comment was blown out of proportion. Now actor Siddharth has waded in on the issue, calling it motivated and unnecessary. Speaking exclusively to India Today, Siddharth said that the debate has been restarted intentionally.
I think it's a very unnecessary situation that is being created to confuse people. Nothing in today's world happens organically on its own. Everything is motivated. So if you're seeing this happening, this is trending, I promise you somebody is motivating it. Ye janbujh ke kiya jata.
The controversy comes a month after a massive Bollywood versus Sandalwood language war exploded. An all-out war between Bollywood star Ajay Devgan and Kannada actor Sudeep took the internet by storm. Ajay Devgan had said Hindi is, was and will always be India's national language in response to Kannada actor Kicha Sudeep's statement that Hindi was never the national language.
Pan-India, Pan-India, Pan-India. Hindi is no more national language. So which is the national language?
Music maestro A.R. Rahman launched a staunch counter to Home Minister Amit Shah's Hindi is the connecting language comment.
சார் இந்த ஹிந்தி சம்பந்தமா சார் மத்திய அமைச்சர் வந்து இந்த ஹிந்தி சம்பந்தமா சொல்லியிருக்காரு இனிப்பு மொழியா இருக்கணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு
A clear north-south divide out in the open. Is Bollywood locked in a turf war with cinemas from rest of India? Bureau Report, India Today.
And the world's richest man, Elon Musk, who set the cat among the pigeons just an hour ago by saying that his Twitter acquisition deal is on hold amidst certain clarifications on the number of fake accounts existing on Twitter. Elon Musk has now tweeted that he is still committed to the acquisition. A bit of an afterthought, but this is probably because of the kind of shockwaves that this may have sent, right through the financial system, with the Tesla and SpaceX CEO now clarifying that he is committed to the acquisition of Twitter, a social media giant that he is coughing up $44 billion for. Earlier, just about a couple of hours ago, Elon Musk had sort of sent out the first shockwave by announcing that the entire deal had been put on hold pending the calculation of the number of fake accounts on Twitter, which are said to be under 5%. So, assessing whether this is actually the case, he had said that until we get a verification on whether this is actually the case, we are putting the Twitter deal on hold. But now he has said he is still committed to the acquisition. What does it really mean? You know, what kind of impact could this have on the deal such as it is? You know, what kind of impact could this have on, you know, stocks of Elon Musk companies and other, you know, companies on the stock markets is something that we're going to get into in just a moment. But the big drama, the affair that Elon Musk is having with Twitter is turning out to be a minute-by-minute pot boiler. Only a few weeks ago, the world's richest man announced that he's paying $44 billion for Twitter as part of a hostile takeover that turned out to be an all-cash deal. $44 billion, making it one of the largest tech acquisitions in the history of tech acquisitions of this kind. Elon Musk today saying that he has put the deal on hold, and then an hour later saying that he is committed, still committed to the acquisition of Twitter. Whether the terms are going to change, whether anything about this entire deal changes, is it in peril of being called off altogether, are all tantalizing questions at this time. But the cloud over the Twitter deal has just darkened a little bit in the last few hours, and it's all come straight from the horse's mouth. Elon Musk, the man who himself stands to become the owner of the social media giant. These are not sources on Wall Street. These are not sources on the New York Stock Exchange. It's Elon Musk, a man who, you know, pretty much says anything he wants to on Twitter, revealing that the deal is on hold. That itself has quaked the entire system. It has certainly quaked Twitter itself. There have been reactions after reactions. Many analysts are wondering whether, you know, this is the first sign that there's trouble in this entire deal and it could be all downhill from here. And perhaps sensing, you know, all the speculation over whether this deal is going to collapse, Elon Musk has said that he is still committed to this acquisition. It doesn't get bigger than this, viewer. Twitter has millions of users here in India as well, and millions of users around the world. So what happens to this social media giant that is used extensively in politics and every walk of life is going to be important to each and every one of us. Whether you're on Twitter, not on Twitter, this is a soap opera of the biggest billion-dollar kind that is playing out live on Twitter. Abha Bakaya has been tracking this high drama very, very closely. Abha, what's going on? It looks like Elon Musk, you know, sensed that the first tweet saying the deal is on hold, you know, kind of quaked the system. You know, got a lot of people really nervous about whether the deal is going to go downhill and unravel from here. So he obviously thought it necessary to issue that clarification saying he's still committed.
Saying he's still committed. You know, he likes to play, doesn't he, Shiv?
Yeah.
He really does. And if you look back at the timeline, he's really played with sentiment in terms of his tweets. But let's just remind our viewers right now, this is a $44 billion deal, and he has to play $1 billion if the deal doesn't go through. Now, that may be small change for Elon Musk, but there are, you know, certain conditions attached to this deal going through. Now, what he said is, amongst all the recent things that he said post deciding he's going to take over Twitter, you know, he's trolled top lawyer Vijay Gade, he's criticized the platform's past decisions, talked about too much control on the platform, and now the latest is he wants to be clear that the spam accounts or bots are less than 5%. That's the latest that has come up now, and that's the latest tweet that he's put out as well. Now, for Twitter, however, I mean, it's not completely downhill. It's a huge deal, of course. Yeah. But Elon Musk, given how volatile he's been and how he continues to change his mind, you know, every other day, it will seem a little, you know, kind of reassuring if they have a clear decision. Now, the deal is likely to go through over the next few weeks or months, and now Elon Musk himself reconfirming that he's committed to it. But in the meanwhile, he's keeping everyone on tenterhooks with the kind of conditions that he keeps coming up with. Now he's holding it, saying that calculation will depend that on spam or fake accounts having to be less than 5%. He's already talked about wanting to kill spam bots. He's talked about that. He's talked about how he's against permanent bans on the platforms, leading to huge debate about whether or not Donald Trump will make his big comeback on Twitter. He's been yelling about free speech forever. In fact, that's probably why he stood back from taking a board seat with his 9% and decided to instead take over all of Twitter altogether, as we've all seen this play out. And he's categorically said that the ban on Trump was morally wrong and that he would reverse it. There has been a lot of speculation about the management reshuffle at Twitter as well, but for the moment all of that is speculative. We don't have any clarity as to really what he's going to do when he finally officially takes charge and takes over the platform. But
no, you're right. Abha, the questions are so many, and they're all questions that are worth billions of dollars one way or the other. Siddharth Zarabi also joining me for a perspective on this. Siddharth, what a potboiler this is turning out to be. As someone said, Elon Musk is tweeting very much like Trump right now. But the impact of each one of these tweets, I'm afraid to wonder how many zeros we'll have to attach to those numbers. Because, these are huge deals he's talking about, and he's just putting out tweets saying, ye deal hold pe hai, nahi, I'm still committed. What's going on? How are you seeing this?
Shiv, on a lighter note, I wonder if current Twitter management is tempted to ban Elon Musk from the platform.
Imagine that.
Okay, but seriously, what is Elon Musk up to? There is a clear, serious issue that he is raising in valuation terms. And to make it simple for our viewers, $44 billion is a huge amount of money. In fact, globally, this is the largest M&A deal which is in the works currently. What is this spam issue that he's referring to? When any company goes to buy another one, there is a period of due diligence in which you go through the numbers. Now, the $44 billion is premised on a certain amount of users, including what is called the daily active user limit. I suspect Elon is trying to drive down the price from what he originally had proposed, and that's kosher for such deals. He's not walking away, and then he has tried to qualify that remark. In this interim period, what will it also do? As we speak, Twitter's share price fell, Tesla's share price rose. So in all of what Elon does, there is a hardcore numbers logic. I suspect he will drive a bargain, Shiv, and we should at this point of time look at and call it just as Elon's latest bargain hunting drive.
What I want to understand, Siddharth, also, and Abha, I'll come to you after that, is, Siddharth, is there a strategy in tweeting every one of these things? Is that what this is about? That he tweets it and that kind of puts pressure and, clears the decks for an action to try and drive down the price? Is that what this is about?
For all M&A deals, and honestly, Shiv, I've seen a fair amount in my working life. This is, a M&A deal by daily tweets. Doesn't work like this. In fact, he, like in the past, is on the edge, on a knife's edge, as far as U.S. Securities Exchange Commission rules are concerned. Any information that you divulge and that hurts shareholders, for example, Twitter's existing shareholders have been hurt to the extent of 15% in the last hour or so in pre-market trade. That is in the US subject for class action. But Elon Musk is actually, I feel, above certain rules that apply to the average US investor. Shiv.
No, that's interesting. Abha, final question to you then. So, driving down the price, making this a better deal for Elon Musk, all those shape-shifting things are happening. And as Siddharth said, incredible that it's happening on Twitter. Is there any, very, very basic question, is there any risk at all of this deal coming apart? or is it probably just going to change shapes a little bit?
It's a $1 million question, isn't it, Shiv? I wish I knew the answer to that.
Yeah.
But, you know, from all signals or indicators that we can see, I mean, the way that he's talked about still being committed, the fact that there is a humongous amount of advertising money that's still riding on this, 229 million, that's the kind of subscriber base that advertisers cater to on Twitter.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of money riding on this, you know, in terms of, you know, the far-reaching implications of the deal as well, and what the company hopes to do once all of this is closed. Let me just give you a brief timeline, right?
Yeah.
We had Musk redefining himself as an active investor back on April 5th. Many Twitter board members congratulated him. Musk said he wouldn't be joining the board. Twitter made the news public, and then Musk changed his mind. Right? Musk then said he wants to buy as many shares as he wants of Twitter. In the SEC filing, he said he'll pay $43 billion and take it private, as we all know. He made his best and final offer at $54.2 a share. That's what happened. Twitter shareholders went the poison pill way. That's when the shareholders were allowed to buy shares if any shareholder exceeded 15% ownership, thereby diluting Musk's stake in the company and forcing him to pay more than he wanted to. Musk pointed out then that in a tweet that the Twitter board owns almost no shares post Dorsey's departure.
Right.
That's on 25th of May. Meanwhile, Musk is willing to invest $15 billion of his own cash and also borrow against his Twitter shares to get the deal done. So there's a lot of back work that's been done just in the last few weeks to secure this deal. He said he secured a $46.5 billion funding, including $25.5 billion in loans financing from Morgan Stanley and $21 billion in equity financing from himself to secure this deal. So even though $44 billion may still be chump change for Elon Musk, this is a pretty big deal in the M&A space, in the tech space, and it's highly unlikely that this won't go through in some shape and form. But then again, with Elon Musk, you just don't know.
You just don't know, and chump change it may be, but he's still apparently trying to drive down the price. So, you know, no matter how rich you are, you know, a few billions here or there being shaved off definitely matters. Siddharth and Abha, appreciate it. Thanks so much for putting the story into perspective for us here. We've got a world exclusive from a Sri Lanka that's been in flames over the last few weeks. Four-time Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, Ranil Wickremesinghe, has taken over once again as Prime Minister of the island nation, bringing a temporary end to the political impasse in the nation. Prime Minister Wickremesinghe has pleaded and pledged that he will uplift the economy. The opposition has slammed the appointment of this new Prime Minister. Locals are bearing the brunt with the cost of essentials skyrocketing in Sri Lanka. Here's our world exclusive ground report.
A temporary relief to the political impasse in Sri Lanka. Veteran Ranil Wickremesinghe was sworn in as a Prime Minister to try and steer the island nation out of its economic mess. A four-time Prime Minister, Ranil replaces Mahinda Rajapaksa, who was unceremoniously ousted earlier this week. Mahinda, blamed for creating economic turmoil, has taken refuge at the Trincomalee naval base. He and his loyalists have been barred from leaving the country. Protesters have abated after shoot-at-sight orders and strict curfew. A brief respite was given for people to buy essentials.
If you think that these vehicles have been halted because of a traffic jam, well, you're mistaken. This is the traffic, the queue for filling petrol and diesel into their vehicles. What we are seeing here in Sri Lanka is immense shortage of fuel, and vehicles have to wait for hours together to get their petrol tanks filled. We're seeing here on the pavements, two-wheelers have been parked and people have been waiting for hours together, hoping that they will be able to get at least a little bit of fuel to ensure that they can go about with their day-to-day activities. This is one of the tragic scenarios that we're seeing in Sri Lanka since this economic crisis that started.
I've been here since last night, and just a couple of minutes ago only we managed to get a fuel tank, and so unfortunate situation for Sri Lankans because we are wasting our valuable time.
Prices of fruits and vegetables have gone up and people are facing the brunt.
We're being told that cabbages are sold for around 400 rupees, which was earlier around 200. And similarly, we're being told that beans is being sold for 550 rupees, which was earlier only around 400 or 350 rupees.
பிரச்சனை வராம இருக்குமா அண்ணனடா கொண்டு போய் ரொம்ப கஷ்டப்படுறாங்களே எங்களுக்கு தொழில் பாதிச்சு எல்லாமே பாதிப்பா இருக்கு அப்ப எப்படிமா நாங்க ஜீவிக்கிறது
एवरीथिंग इज वेरी हाई पूरा सामान बहुत हाई है सामान लेने के लिए आदमी का बहुत मुश्किल है तो पूरा आदमी का इधर काम नहीं
But Lanka remains on the edge. Spiraling prices, fuel and food shortage has crippled the country. New Prime Minister Vikram Singhe has a huge task on his hands to put the country back on rails. With Akshay Nath in Colombo, Bureau Report, India Today.
And India Today was the first channel, not just in India, but around the world, to speak and interview the new Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. That is what India Today does when it reports from the ground. Take a look.
Prime Minister. Prime Minister, are you confident there's a way out of this crisis? Are you confident there's a way out of this crisis, Prime Minister? Are you confident there's a way out of this crisis, economic crisis?
Are you confident?
We are facing a crisis. We have to get out of it.
Yeah, are you confident you can do it?
Yeah, we'll do it.
So what do you think will be the first step forward for you?
Get into the Prime Minister's office tomorrow morning.
Sir, is there an action plan? Have you listed out the ministers?
We have economic action plan and we'll work on it. The crucial ministers will be appointed soon.
There's a worst economic crisis in the country.
Yes.
So it's a challenging time. It's going to be very difficult. Are you afraid of the future?
No, I always take a challenge.
And what are the promises that you're giving the people, sir?
Nothing.
So people, how do you think you can reassure them?
I will lift up the economy and ensure we have enough foreign exchange and government revenue.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for talking to us. That was Ranil Wickremesinghe talking exclusively to India Today, stating that he will be reviving the economy and bringing Sri Lanka forward as a successful nation. With camera person Divyan from Colombo, this is Akshay Nath for India Today.